10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin.
The time is 10 a.m.
Thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Brandy, and I'm here with Christina. We invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.net. reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. This is from the Springfield News-Leader. Springfield Police leading Regional Blue Envelope Program launch. Key points. The Blue Envelope Program is meant to make interactions safer between law enforcement and people with disabilities or communication challenges. An envelope or card will indicate the person's communication needs and can be handed to a police officer during a traffic stop. Springfield Police Department is leading the program's region-wide launch. The Springfield Police Department announced Monday, April 20th, that it would be leading the regional effort to improve interactions between law enforcement and people with disabilities or communication challenges. SPD, along with the Ozarks, Nixa, Hollister, and Indian Point Police Departments, is launching the Blue Envelope Program in the Ozarks. By launching the Blue Envelope Program together with regional law enforcement partners, we're strengthening safety and understanding across the Ozarks, Springfield Police Chief Paul Williams during the news conference. This is a community-driven effort supported by organizations that work every day with individuals who may benefit most from the program. We're proud to lead an initiative that helps ensure every interaction with law enforcement is handled with clarity, dignity, and compassion. Here's what you need to know about the program, who it benefits, and why it's important. What is the Blue Envelope Program? The Blue Envelope Program is a communication support tool designed to make interactions safer between law enforcement and those with disabilities or communication challenges. According to the National Public Safety Alliance for Individuals with Disabilities, the program is not centralized or organized across the nation, but rather one that agencies around the United States create and implement individually. It is a voluntary program that may not be recognized by all law enforcement agencies. There's a picture of Springfield Police Chief Paul Williams during the April 20th, 2026 press conference announcing the Blue Envelope Program coming to the Ozarks. Photographed by Susan Zuch, Springfield News-Leader. What does a blue envelope contain in the Ozarks? According to the Springfield Police Department, the envelope will note the person's communication needs. Inside the envelope will be important documents such as a copy of the person's driver's license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance, which can be handed directly to an officer during a traffic stop or emergency situation. The information on and in the blue envelope helps officers deliver appropriate assistance quickly and effectively by allowing the officers the opportunity to provide communications while still carrying out their duties. There is also a card people can hand to law enforcement that outlines communication needs. And there's a picture of a blue envelope next to the communication needs card. Who can benefit from the Blue Envelope Program? Anyone who has specific communication needs can benefit from the Blue Envelope Program. On the outside of the envelope, people can provide personal and medical information that will help facilitate better communication, including deaf/hard of hearing, need sign language, lip reading, or written communication, trouble speaking clearly, stuttering, aphasia, and or physical impairments, speaks limited English, preferred language, neurodevelopmental condition, autism, ADHD, other processing, responding affected, mental health conditions, anxiety, PTSD, panic, withdrawal and or disorganized speech, cognitive neurological impairment, dementia, brain injury, affects memory, understanding, uncontrolled movements and or sounds, tics or vocalizations, medical related, speech issues from surgery or medication side effects. Why are these programs important for people with disabilities or communication challenges? People with autism are 7 times more likely to encounter law enforcement officers during their lives than neurotypical people, said Jamie McGranahan, who's the autism resource specialist at ARC of the Ozarks. Hollister Police Department Chief Bert Starwalt explained that his adult son is autistic, and he worries daily about how law enforcement may interact with his son or others who have communication challenges. His behaviors and actions can seem, to the untrained eye, as strange and odd. That worries me from an officer's perspective because I know how those behaviors would seem to me on a day-to-day basis, even though I live with someone with autism, Starwalt said. Individuals with autism aren't the only ones who may struggle with police interactions. People with serious mental illness are more likely to experience use of force in law enforcement interactions, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And a quarter of all fatal police shootings from 2015 to 2025 involved someone with mental illness. I used the blue envelope program. What do I need to remember to do? There's a picture of a Springfield police officer with a person in a red car handing them a blue envelope. According to SPD, people using the program should hand the officer the blue envelope upon request, keep their hands visible at all times, take a deep breath, and listen carefully to questions. Additionally, like anyone else engaged with a law enforcement officer, they should also remember not to reach for items or leave the scene without permission. Where can I get more information on the Blue Envelope program? Blue Envelope program resources, including envelopes, are available from the Springfield Police Department headquarters, 321 East Chestnut Expressway, and the Springfield Police South District Station at 2620 West Battlefield Road during business hours. Uniformed officers will also have resources available. During the press conference, Williams said that community partners like ARC of the Ozarks, Rural Behavioral Health, and Abilities First will also provide blue envelope resources to clients.
That's really good information. From the ashes of ramen, a Springfield bagel shop rises at the Springfield Daily Citizen. Months after Joe and Laura Still closed their ramen restaurant in Roundtree, the couple opened Big Baby Bagels in the same property. Pictured is Joe Still, and he is at the register, and next to him is a big display full of several different types of baskets of different bagels. We've got dark chocolate chip, cinnamon crunch, plain Asiago, poblano cheddar, sesame, everything, rosemary, and this must be either at the very beginning or end of the day because they are pretty empty, so I guess they're ready for their next batch. The bagel shop is having a soft opening for the remainder of the month. Because they're just starting out. Joe and Laura Still are making bagels from ramen noodles. After a 10-year run in the historic Roundtree neighborhood, the Stills closed the beloved ramen shop Scully's in February. The business couple pivoted, and just 2 months later, in the middle of a soft opening, a bagel shop in the same building that housed their former ramen restaurant. In a way, Big Baby Bagels rose from the ashes of Scully's. The bagel shop, located at 1427 East Cherry Street, will be undergoing a soft opening for the remainder of April, with a grand opening tentatively planned early next month, Joe Still said. Big Baby Bagels, or BB Bagels, is using the soft opening to nail down the menu and smooth out operations. My wife is like a pastry chef by trade, Joe Still said outside the bagel shop on April 17th. We've been spending the last 6 months making bagels like every day. We've been tweaking the recipe constantly. During the soft opening, BB Bagels is open from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday. The bagel shop features 8 signature bagels, and the Stills continue to finalize the menu. Some of those staples include dark chocolate chip, cinnamon crunch, poblano cheddar, everything, and more. After months of toying with different approaches, the Stills have landed on an old-fashioned way of making bagels. But nothing is set in stone, Joe Still said. BB Bagels uses barley, malt syrup, sugar, and salt as a solution. We're doing like a 36-hour ferment on them, and then we're boiling them kind of like old-fashioned style, Still said. That's fantastic. Everything made fresh and in-house. I love fermented things. I'm sorry, that just wouldn't really caught me. We're doing like a 36-hour ferment on them. All bagel toppings are freshly made in-house, including salmon, fresh avocado, tomatoes, cucumbers, and more. This sounds like it's going to be delicious. BB Bagels has 7 cream cheese spread made from in-house from scratch. We're whipping all of our own cream cheese, Still said. We're not buying like pre-whipped or anything. After the soft opening, Big Baby Bagels plans to add breakfast sandwiches to its offerings. Joe Still said to expect staples like eggs and bacon and sausage offerings. That sounds fantastic. The Stills have undisclosed partners in BB Bagel, Still said. The business couple continued the lease with property after Scully's closed down. The lease has approximately 3 years left. Oh, man. I'm going to have to fix my computer. All right, and then that's all I got for that one.
This is from the Springfield News-Leader. It says, How an Unsolved Medical Mystery Became a Life-Saving Breakthrough, by Courtney Crowder, USA Today Network. The coughing is so violent, so thunder-sharp, that Dr. Mike Welsh hears the deep, wet claps through the exam room's closed wooden door and well down the hallway. Their echo reverberates, the force of each choke conjuring a frame in painful contraction, one of those rare moments when sound has a feel. Inside, a young girl, 7 or 8, is fighting for each breath. When she's not coughing outright, her shallow gasps rattle, emitting a craggy, low-pitched moan. And as she hawks, she brings up a foul-smelling custard-like phlegm. Scientific name, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Welsh, then a third-year medical student on his pediatric rotation in the early 1970s, watches how she's recruiting every muscle to inhale, chest, diaphragm, neck, pecs even, and hand on her back steadying a stethoscope, he feels the extreme effort in each exhale. Cystic fibrosis, read the notes scribbled on her chart. There's a picture of an older gentleman with glasses and a light blue shirt with a gray jacket. His name is, it's a picture of Dr. Michael Welsh. He stands for a photo in his laboratory at the University of Iowa, February 11th, 2026. Photo by Zach Boyden-Holmes, The Register. A progressive genetic disorder in which thick, sticky mucus slowly drowns the lungs while destroying other vital organs. Cystic fibrosis has no cure and back then no good treatments, outside of punishing therapies that only moderately eased painful symptoms. So she's probably not going to live into her teens, the attending physician tells Welsh after the exam. And if she does, well, she won't make it out of her teens. That little girl became Welsh's personal index case. Her coughs and contractions were the impetus behind nearly 50 years studying chloride movement across the cells lining organs and body cavities, experiments that would be critical to cracking the medical mystery of cystic fibrosis. Ultimately, Welsh's research resulted in one of the most revolutionary health advancements of our time, a series of medications that transformed cystic fibrosis from a lethal diagnosis into a manageable condition. For this work, Welsh and 2 colleagues won the 2025 Lasker Award, biomedicine's most prestigious honor, an accolade so distinguished it's often referred to as the American Nobel. There's a picture of an African-American gentleman with a black shirt and a gray jacket. It says William O'Neill II, pictured January 30th, 2026, at Dublin Underground in Iowa City, is a cystic fibrosis survivor. Photo by Julia Hansen, Iowa City Press Citizen. This medication, in no hyperbolic terms, saved my life, says William O'Neill II, who was diagnosed with CF as a newborn and at 20 years old, given 3 months to live unless he received a lung transplant. As O'Neill was waiting for news of an available organ in 2019, his doctors called to say a series of medications had been approved to treat CF. They overnighted the pills to O'Neill's door. Within a few weeks of starting the treatments, O'Neill was walking without gasping and talking without pausing to gobble air. That was the first time I knew the drug was a miracle, says O'Neill, 27, who is now a poetry fellow at the world-renowned Iowa Writers' Workshop. Like it was a miracle. Before and after the medication felt similarly distinct to Grace Leggett, a 21-year-old student studying marketing and graphic design at Grace College, Indiana. My lungs were just clearing these things that had probably been sitting in the bottom of them forever, she says, of the first few days taking the pills. It was all coming out at once, and then it was silence. And there's a picture of a young strawberry blonde-haired woman with a white sweater and dark green pants. It says Grace Leggett works at Sidecar Coffee in 2025. Grace was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis as an infant, provided by Liz Martin, University of Iowa Healthcare. Like many CF patients, Leggett just struggled to slow her breathing after any kind of exertion. But once prescribed the medication, she became a triple qualifier in Iowa State high school cross-country and track competitions. When you're able to breathe in and get a full breath of air, it's like you're flying, she says. It's like, she pauses, searching for the words, like a weight is lifted off your chest. Curiosity, collaboration lead to life-changing science. Cystic fibrosis is caused by a mutated gene that alters how a critical protein known as CFTR, a merciful shorthand for cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator, forms inside a cell. Studying the structure and inner workings of defective CF cells, Dr. Welsh eventually pinpointed that chloride wasn't passing through the cell membranes of CF patients. Instead, chloride seemed to get stuck inside their cells, which was drawing water out of the airways and out of the lungs, normally fluid mucus, hence the dehydrated monkey phlegm in people with CF. Using salt as his guide star, Wells first discovered that a healthy CFTR protein created a chloride channel, which acts as a little pipe through a cell membrane. Like a cornerstone to liquid movement inside the body, this pore lets chloride specifically pass while battling away other electrolytes. But in people with CF, that protein creates a malformed channel, or in some cases, doesn't make one at all. We learned there's a lot of different mutations that can break CFTR, Welsh says. It's easy to smash. There's a picture of Dr. Michael Welsh speaking to Steve Bullard about his research December 4th, 2025 in the lab. Picture by Julia Hansen, Iowa City Press Citizen. As Welsh's team began to study possible fixes, he came across a Science magazine article in which a fellow researcher reported showing chloride movement in the experiments they were conducting on the broken CFTR protein. Chloride movement would mean there was hope yet for the protein, that there was a possibility it could be fixed. But his lab hadn't seen anything of the sort, so he scoured the paper for what he could be missing, and in the methods section he found a clue. I realized they had done this in frog eggs, he says. If sentences could scream, this one howled. Frog eggs. Welsh worked with those before. They're kept incubated at a lower temperature than human cells, 18 degrees Celsius versus 37 degrees Celsius. So Welsh and his team made the cells like they always did, but they put them into a colder incubator, 30 degrees, 26, 23, colder and colder. And they saw as they lowered the temperature, the protein matured. It folded better. It journeyed to the cell surface where the channel could work. It opened. Welsh had proven that through cooling the cells, the protein could be rescued and the chloride channel restored, in the lab at least. It was an observation that could easily have been overlooked. It works in frog eggs, says Vijay Trivedi, whose book, Breath from Salt, traces the rise of cystic fibrosis treatments. It was that eureka moment that let others know, okay, maybe there is a way to fix this protein, she says, and that basically opened up the playing field for drug discovery. Duct tape. Research opens a channel, but more is needed. Since refrigerating people wasn't a viable treatment, chemists and pharmacologists needed to create a small molecule that could replicate what happened in the cold. And enormous advancements in robotics, computer analytics, and molecular chemistry in the early 1990s meant drug companies were primed to meet that moment, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on iterative development over 2 decades. Vertex Pharmaceuticals created 4 drugs that function in part like duct tape, says Welsh, holding things together. In the simplest terms, the drugs essentially turn on the chloride channel, allowing salt and water to move and mucus to clear from the lungs and other organs. In 2012, the first medication was approved, which repaired the protein mutation for about 5% of CF patients. Slowly, more drugs were approved to help more people. Orkambi in 2015, Symdeko in 2018, and Trifacta in 2019, which ultimately treats up to 90% of CF patients at the U.S. This is a win, but we're not done yet, says Welsh, whose lab is researching treatments for the remaining 10% of CF patients not eligible for medication and ultimately hunting a cure. And for Leggett, who now runs for fun, every deep breath is proof positive that research, when funded and supported, can uplift, empower, and reshape patients' futures. I'm so incredibly grateful for those researchers and scientists who just continue to work, she says. I hope my life is a walking testimony of what they've done. Courtney Crowder is the Register's Iowa columnist and a senior writer.
Now that the technical error is fixed, I can finish that article, which actually has a really fun ending. The property, so back to Big Baby Bagels, the property is located at 423 to 427 East Cherry Street and is owned by Pickwick and Cherry LLC, according to Greene County Assessor's Office records. The property had just under 9,500 square feet and was appraised at $735,000. Pickwick and Cherry LLC is registered to Kim Chafin of Springfield, according to Missouri State Secretary of State records. From ramen to bagels. Pictured is co-owner Joe Still standing in front of the Big Baby Bagels door, or BB Bagels, on April 17th. The bagel shop is in the same building that housed Scully's Ramen Restaurant. It is a gray door with glass in the middle, and it says grand opening May 2026 on one sign, and then there is the BB Bagels soft opening 4/7 through 5/1, and a pictured logo is sort of a cupie 1950s style baby, but it's a bagel in the middle for the body. And then he is standing with his arms crossed with a smile. He is wearing a gray t-shirt and with a black ball cap, and he has beard on the sides of his face, so long, what is that? Sideburns. He has longer sideburns. The Stills made the unconventional jump from a ramen restaurant to a bagel shop because the business owners needed a little more time away from the restaurant grind. The two just welcomed their first child, Lucy, in December 2025. Even though Joe and Laura Still loved Scully's offerings and thoroughly enjoyed bringing non-traditional ramen to Springfield, the menu required extensive prep time. For instance, the ramen broth the restaurant made required 28 hours to get to a finished product. Scully's was a ton of work doing ramen, Joe Still said, and the amount of labor that goes into that, and so we never really made money at Scully's. We made enough to sustain ourselves, but even then it was tight a lot of times. That much prep time for every dish meant the Stills were working both ends of the clock and rarely getting time at home. When Lucy came into the world, the business owners knew they had to pivot. Lucy was part of the impetus for, we got to do something a little different and get home at a reasonable time, Joe Still said. As Lucy was the impetus for the bagel shop, it just makes sense that the business was named after her. While Laura was pregnant, checkups often came with a special warning from doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers, Joe Still said. They always said, "That's a big baby." The Stills thought it was funny and endearing and decided the new business would be Big Baby Bagels. And for those wondering, Lucy was born at just under 9 pounds, slightly bigger than the average newborn. Opening a bagel shop was meant Joe Still had turned the late nights at Scully's into early mornings at BB Bagels. The chef usually gets to the shop at 4:30 a.m. to start the process of whipping out fresh bagels to Springfield. But then I'm off at 1, so it's definitely more enjoyable, Joe Still said. Ryan Collins is the author of this article. He is the business and economic development reporter from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Collins graduated from Glendale High School in 2011 before studying journalism and economics at the University of Missouri-Columbia. He previously worked for Bloomberg News. Contact him at 417-849-2570 or rcollins, Collins, at sgfcitizen.org. He is pictured wearing a suit. He has a gray suit with a white collared shirt and a yellow yellow background tie with kind of black polka dots, and a 1950s style cut and glasses.
This is from the Springfield Business Journal. College of the Ozarks appoints new provost by SBJ staff. There's a picture of a woman with brunette hair and a dark red top. And the caption says, Susan DeWoody has been named the new vice president for academic affairs and provost at College of the Ozarks. Photo provided by College of the Ozarks. College of the Ozarks appointed Susan DeWoody, who has worked in higher education and the business sector, as Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. The job starts July 1st. She will succeed Eric Bolger, who has spent 33 years on the Point Lookout campus, including many years in that role. In her new role, DeWoody will oversee the private faith-based college's academic programs, faculty development, curriculum assessment, academic services, and strategic planning. Dr. DeWoody is a thoughtful and experienced leader with a strong commitment to Christ-centered education, said Brad Johnson, president of College of the Ozarks, in a news release. Her background in academic leadership, strategic planning, and student success aligns well with our mission. We are confident she will help to safeguard the distinct mission of the college, building upon the strong foundation already in place and helping lead the college forward with clarity and purpose. DeWoody has worked in higher education, academic strategy, and institutional effectiveness. She most recently served as president of Strata Leadership, LLC, where she served as an executive coach and consultant. A former provost and chief academic officer at Oklahoma Baptist University, she also served as an executive search professional working with nonprofit and university clients. I was drawn to College of the Ozarks based on my own personal convictions about education and leadership, which align closely with the mission, vision, and pillars of the college, DeWoody said in the release. The mission speaks to providing access to a Christ-centered education for students who may not otherwise have access. As a first-generation college graduate, I resonate with the population of students in need of support. She has a bachelor's degree from Arkansas Tech University, a master's degree from Northeastern State University, and a doctorate from Dallas Baptist University. DeWoody said she was intrigued by the college's student work model, which she believes reinforces accountability, discipline, and character. I view this model as transformative, preparing students not only to graduate with head knowledge, but to enter the world equipped to contribute meaningfully toward callings in their professions and communities, she said in the release.
Spend a day at Sweden Creek Falls. This is from 417 Magazine. Find hidden gems and breathtaking waterfall at Sweden Creek in northwest Arkansas by Sony Hocklander. This is an April 2026 article. Pictured is some beautiful rock formations. They're modeled kind of red and brown with lots of different striations. And then in between, you see the rush of a small waterfall in between the rocks, probably about 2 or 3 feet across. And it's going so fast in the picture, it's blurry from the exposure. And then in the background is the plethora of treetops. And there's also some grass growing through one of the cracks in the rocks, along with some moss over in the bottom right corner. For a rewarding spring hike to an 80-foot waterfall, spend a day at Sweden Creek Falls natural area near the Buffalo National River. This multifaceted trail features rocky outcrops, high bluffs, a deep canyon, and 2 scenic trail sections to the 8th tallest waterfall in Arkansas. And bonus, hikers can explore a side creek that cascades over rocky shelves. The impressive Sweden Creek Falls tumbles over a tall, rocky bluff into a wide grotto. Although similar in nature to Hemden Hollow's waterfall, it's much more accessible to the average hiker. To get to Sweden Creek Falls from Springfield, head south on U.S. Highway 65 to Arkansas State Highway 43. The trip takes 2 hours. We love this protected natural area, one of our favorite treks for its variety of experiences. Get started. It's easy to park in a large lot established on a gravel road about 3 miles south of Arkansas 21 and Fire Tower Road near Compton and Ponca. A large sign marks the trailhead. From here, the trail steadily descends half a mile through trees and foliage to the location of one-time residence. The house is gone, but you'll find remnants in an open meadow. Watch for a small outbuilding on your left. Emerging from the woods, look right for a tributary creek that flows over a ledge onto a series of waterfalls. If you have time, plan to explore more of this area later before returning to your car. But for now, continue left to the convergence of 2 trail sections, an upper and a lower, that lead to Sweden Creek Falls. Upper Trail. We usually hike the Upper Trail first, but the order doesn't matter. Marked with blue blazes, the Upper Trail follows the bluff top for roughly a quarter mile. Be mindful of spring runoff in spots that can make the trail slick. Shortly before reaching Sweden Creek, stop for a nice view of the upper waterfall. Continue around the bluff until you reach the creek. The view from here is amazing, and we always marvel at the soft curves of the V-slot where Sweden Creek carved through rock over time. The smooth rocky bank makes a nice place to stop for snacks or lunch. Use caution at the edge of the bluff, especially if hiking with kids. Return the way you came and look for a rocky, sometimes muddy descent to the lower trail. The lower trail is also roughly a quarter mile to the waterfall. However, there's a lot more to it. To reach it, pick your way down the short, steep passage below the upper trail. Tip: before continuing on the lower trail, look right to see if the small tributary falls for exploring later. The trail to the waterfall's base is narrow and edgy in spots. Some sections lead through rocky bluff shelters and around huge boulders. Others require a bit of rock hopping. Watch for a few slick areas. If you go in waters flowing well, runoff drips over the bluff and rains onto hikers below. As you near the grotto, listen for the waterfall as it becomes visible through the trees. A rocky path leads down the waterfall's base, where plenty of boulders make easy perches for snacks or lunch. If you like to explore, climb the slope bank to get behind the falls. A pool at its base may be deep enough to wade on warm days. Bonus falls. If you're comfortable getting off the main trails, explore the side creek waterfalls before heading back to your car. You can reach them in a couple of ways. If it's possible to cross the tributary creek safely above the first drop, pick your way down on the right side of the creek, or from the start of the lower trail, bushwhack over to the small falls. Whether you spend a full day exploring or do a quick hike down and back, the Sweden Creek trails make a memorable waterfall hike.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. More details revealed about Springfield-based MU School of Medicine. Admissions for 2027-2028 students open in May. Ribbon cutting set for June by Joe Hadsall. The University of Missouri-Columbia has confirmed plans that a newly acquired property off of Battlefield Road near Highway 65 will be the site of its new 4-year medical school, and both Cox Health and Mercy Springfield will be involved in the program's expansion. The university's Board of Curators approved the expansion in September. When the expansion is opened, students will be able to pursue a career as a physician without leaving the Springfield area. The university hopes to accept cohorts of 32 students in 2027. By 2030, it hopes to have 128 students in Springfield, bringing its entire enrollment across both campuses to more than 670 students. Currently, Mizzou offers a Springfield program where students can finish their third and fourth years in the city. The first 2 years are spent at the university's Columbia campus. In November, it reached an agreement with Jack Henry and Associates to purchase the 77,000 square foot building located at 3737 East Battlefield Road. Jack Henry still owns and operates the other building on the campus. A ribbon cutting has been set for 4 p.m. June 24th to commemorate the school's expansion, according to an invite sent to Springfield Public Schools officials. Before that, in May, the university will open up admissions for prospective students in the 2027-2028 academic year. This expansion is about more than classrooms and labs. It's about building a healthier future for every Missourian, said Richard J. Barhon, Executive Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs and Dean of the School of Medicine, in a press release. By training more physicians in Springfield, we are investing in communities and ensuring that their quality care is within reach for all. There's a picture of people in short lab coats. It says members of the University of Missouri's class of 2026 at its Springfield Clinical Campus pose for a photo courtesy of UM Medical School. The new facility more than triples the space the program has available in Springfield. The medical school currently operates out of about a 22,000 square foot space at 1845 South National Avenue. Mizzou is a tenant in that building, which is owned by Greystone Court Properties, LLC, according to county records. A spokesperson for the university said that once the Battlefield Road property is ready for students, it will vacate the National Avenue property. According to a press release from the university, leaders with both of Springfield's major hospital networks are on board. Both work with the university to offer clinical rotations for its current medical students. Training future physicians locally is one of the most meaningful ways we can strengthen our healthcare workforce, said Max Buteau, President and CEO of Cox Health. We look forward to welcoming these students to our campus, where they will be part of advancing our mission to improve the health of the communities we serve. Bringing a full 4-year medical school to the Springfield community ensures aspiring physicians can complete every stage of their training in the same place they may one day practice, said John Myers, president of Mercy Springfield Communities. By working with the University of Missouri School of Medicine, we are helping build a stronger pipeline of skilled, compassionate physicians. Curriculum between the two locations, Springfield and Columbia, will be comparable and will draw from shared faculty resources and an expanded simulation lab. The expanded medical school will offer allopathic degrees, otherwise known as MD degrees. It will differ from the osteopathic DO degrees offered by Kansas City University's Joplin campus, which opened in 2017. The goal of the program is to retain more students from the Springfield area and give a significant boost to its economy. Steve Edwards, former CEO of Cox Health, said in September that establishing such a school in Springfield has been a long-sought goal. The university also announced it has created a pathway for graduates of Springfield area colleges and universities to attend, but it did not provide further details. Currently, successful application into Mizzou's medical school requires meeting residency and academic benchmarks, including U.S. citizenship or permanent resident status, a score of at least 500 on the medical college admissions test, at least 90 semester hours of study at a U.S. college or university with courses that fall under a variety of subjects, including English, math, biology, chemistry, and physics, an undergraduate GPA of 3.0 or higher, letters of recommendation from former professors. Preference is given to Missouri students, according to the university's admissions page. Out-of-state students must meet more stringent requirements. Article is by Joe Hadsall. He is the education reporter for the Springfield Daily Citizen. Hadsall has more than 2 decades of experience reporting in the Ozarks with the Joplin Globe, Christian County Headliner News, and 417 Magazine. Contact him at 417-837-3671 or jhadsall@sgfcitizen.org.
Starting at the Springfield Business Journal, moving through the Associated Press reporting on the article, the tariff refund portal launching. The federal government is slated to launch a tariff refund portal starting today. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is administering the system. The refund system will be open for businesses that paid tariffs, which the U.S. Supreme Court ruled President Donald Trump imposed without the constitutional authority to do so, the Associated Press reports. Businesses begin claiming refunds for Trump tariffs struck down by U.S. Supreme Court. Pictured is a zoomed-in picture of the shoulder of a U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So we're seeing the logo on their shoulder badge with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security with the eagle and shield in the middle. New York AP, a refund system but this is by May Anderson. A refund system for businesses that pay tariffs, which the U.S. Supreme Court ruled President Donald Trump imposed without the constitutional authority to do so, launched Monday. Importers and their brokers could begin claiming refunds through an online portal beginning at 8 a.m., according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the agency administering the system. It's the first step in a complicated process that also might eventually lead to refunds for consumers who were billed for some or all of the tariffs on products shipped to them from outside the United States. Companies must submit declarations listing the goods on which they collectively put billions of dollars toward the import taxes the court struck down on February 20th. If CPB approves a claim, it will take 60 to 90 days for a refund to be issued, the agency said. The government expects to process refunds in phases, however, focusing first on more recent tariff payments. Any number of technical factors and procedural issues could delay an importer's application, so any reimbursements businesses plan to make likely would trickle down to consumers slowly. The co-owner of a clothing company based in Washington, D.C., said the system seemed buggy on Monday when she tried to create an account on the portal, which was required before companies could do anything else. A lawyer in Northern Virginia said his clients reported some system delays and lag time. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court found that Trump usurped Congress's tax-setting role last April when he set new import tax rates on products from almost every other country, citing the U.S. trade deficit as a national emergency that warranted his invoking of a 1977 emergency powers law. Although the court majority did not address refunds in its ruling, a judge at the U.S. Court of International Trade determined last month that companies subjected to IEEPA tariffs were entitled to money back. Not all taxed imports immediately eligible. Customs and Border Protection said in court filings that over 330,000 importers paid a total of about $166 billion on over 53 million shipments. Not all of those orders qualify for the first phase of the refund system's rollout, which is limited to cases in which tariffs were estimated but not finalized or within 80 days of a final accounting. To receive funds, importers have to register for the CPB's electronic payment system. As of April 14th, 56,497 importers had completed registration and were eligible for refunds totaling $127 billion, including interest, the agency said. System requires accuracy. Megan Supino, a partner at Ice Miller, said the law firm has advised clients to carefully list in their declarations all of the document numbers for forms that went to CPB to describe imported goods and their value. If there is an entry on that file that does not qualify, it may cause the entire entry to be rejected, or that line item may be rejected by Customs, he said. Supino thinks the portal going live will require composure as well as diligence. Like any electronic online program that goes live with a lot of interest, I would expect that there might be some hiccups with the program on Monday, she said. So we continue to ask everyone to be patient because we think that patience will pay off. Ni Hyun, the partner in charge of transfer pricing at accounting and consulting firm Armanino, said most companies claiming refunds will have imported a mix of items and not all will qualify right away. It's about having a clear process in place and keeping track of what's been submitted and what's been paid, so nothing falls through the cracks, she said. Each file can include thousands of entries, but accuracy is critical, as submissions can be rejected if formatting or data is incorrect. Patience with the process. Small businesses have eagerly awaited the chance to apply for refunds. Rebecca Melsky, co-owner of the clothing brand and online store Princess Awesome, said she was unable to register for a portal account Monday despite trying to submit her CPB import code and company information using 2 different web browsers. She said Princess Awesome would file for a refund eventually. The company imports some of its clothes from factories in Bangladesh, China, India, and Peru. Melsky estimated it paid $32,000 in IEEPA tariffs. My expectations have been pretty low about whether we are actually going to see any money back to us, she said. I'm heartened by the fact that there is any system at all, but I'm only slightly more optimistic than I was last week, which was not very. Justin Ngati, an associate attorney in the international trade practice of global law firm Reed Smith, said his clients ultimately had their declarations accepted Monday, even if it might have taken a few attempts. So far, Customs have been very responsive in trying to troubleshoot the issue, Ngati said. Will consumers see refunds? Tariffs are paid by importers, and some companies pass on the tax cost to consumers via high prices. The system, starting up Monday, will refund tariffs directly to the businesses that paid them, which are not obligated to share the proceeds with customers. However, class action lawsuits that aim to force companies ranging from Costco to Ray-Ban maker EssilorLuxottica to reimburse shoppers are winding their way through the U.S. legal system. Individuals may be more likely to receive refunds from delivery companies like FedEx and UPS, which collected tariffs on imports directly from consumers. FedEx has said it would return tariff refunds to customers when it receives them from the CPB. Supporting our customers as they navigate regulatory changes remains our top priority, FedEx said in a statement. We are working with our customers as CPB begins processing refunds and planning to begin filing claims on April 20th.
This is from Springfield Daily Citizen. 21 protesters at Springfield's No Kings rally get citations. Police used drone to investigate. Of the 3 No Kings rallies that have been held in Springfield, the March 28th rally was the first one where some of the protesters were ticketed for being in the roadway. According to police, it's because this was the first one where about 20 protesters stepped into the roadway, into traffic, and marched down the street. By Steve Pokin. Weeks after the March 28th No Kings rally in Springfield, 18 people were sent citations in the mail from Springfield police for allegedly walking along roadways during the Saturday afternoon protest along Battlefield Road. Chris Swaders, spokesperson for the Springfield Police Department, said those 18 people who were cited after the rally were identified using drone footage and police resources. She declined to elaborate on how police matched faces with names and addresses. 3 others received the same ticket directly from an officer during the rally, and one person, Kara Leck, 37, was arrested on suspicion of resisting, failure to obey a lawful order, and walking in the roadway, according to Swaders. Approximately 20 individuals stepped out into the roadway and marched from the area of Fremont to the area of Glenstone, refusing orders to clear the roadway. One who was arrested had a megaphone, Swaders said. There were 2 No Kings rallies in Springfield prior to the one on March 28th. Swaders said that March 28th was the first time citations were issued to protesters for being in the roadway. It was the first time protesters marched down the middle of the street, she said. Police also used a drone or drones to monitor the No Kings rally held October 18th at National and Sunshine, Swaders said. The first No Kings rally in Springfield was June 14th along Chestnut Expressway. Facebook post elicits large response. Cindy Johnson Potts, on April 13th posted on Facebook that she was one of those issued a citation in the mail. In that post, she questioned what type of surveillance police used to track her down. A week after NK3, the third No Kings rally in Springfield, people who showed up to peacefully march in the street are now getting summons in the mail, Potts wrote. That raises a serious question. How were names and home addresses obtained? People should be able to show up, speak out, and participate in their community without wondering if their personal information will be collected and used against them after the fact. This isn't just about one event. It's about whether people feel safe enough to engage at all. And right now that safety feels shaken. There's a picture of Cindy Johnson Potts with flowers in her hair and showing her hands, which have "No War" written on them. She was among those participating in the nationwide No Kings Day rallies on Saturday, March 28, 2026, in Springfield. Photo by Jim Wilson. As of Thursday, April 16th, her post received over 400 comments, many accusing police of violating Potts' free speech rights. Swaders said the citations were not related to free speech, but were written with an eye toward public safety on a busy thoroughfare and to enforce laws about pedestrians being in the roadway. The role of the Springfield Police Department is to keep everyone safe as they peacefully assemble, which includes ensuring traffic is unimpeded, Swaders said. Swaders also said flock cameras were not used as part of the investigation, which Potts had questioned in her post. Flock is a license plate reader and is not used to capture faces, Swaders said. Potts' April 13th post did not mention protesters blocking traffic. A press release sent by event organizers prior to the March 28th No Kings rally stated that attendees are encouraged to remain on sidewalks, follow local laws, and engage respectfully with others. Those who attended were told to stand along the street, not in the street. Several who marched down the street apparently were members of an anti-Trump group called the Resisters. Potts is a member. When the Daily Citizen reached out this week, she said via Facebook Messenger she was unavailable, adding, "But I'll pass your message on to the other Resisters who received citations. I know they would love to talk to you." No one from the group contacted the Daily Citizen prior to publication. A reporter reached out to a different member of the group, and she declined to comment on the record. In a follow-up Facebook post on March 15th, Potts stated she was not concerned that she got a summons, as she chose civil disobedience to show her disdain for the Trump administration. She wrote that she was concerned about police using technology to write tickets days later instead of at the scene. "My concern is for those that joined us on the street and are now facing fines they may not be able to afford," Potts wrote. According to the city's website, violating the pedestrian safety ordinance can result in a minimum $100 fine. A group of women walking down Battlefield like a marching band. One of the hundreds of people who commented on Potts' post was a man named Mark Rowland of Greene County, who wrote, "A group of people did take over the roadway briefly. The Springfield Daily Citizen contacted Roland and asked him what he saw. He said he was driving along Battlefield Road, honking his horn in support of protesters. I had gone eastbound all the way down the parade, honking and saluting and celebrating everyone, and when I got to the end at Glenstone, I went past about a block and a half and found a place to turn around and headed back. Both eastbound lanes were occupied by these women, spaced out as though they were in a marching band. I used to be in marching band, and my first thought was that it almost looked like they must have practiced, Roland said. I mean, they were big time taking over the street. The cops chose to shut off the flow of traffic and diverted cars clear back at Fremont to avoid cars coming upon them, he said. They were pretty unabashed, and the cop cars immediately kind of lined their periphery. My wife and I were both a little concerned that there was about to be some form of violence, but it seemed like the police handled it pretty well. They got out of their cars and kind of cordoned around the women, Roland said. The cops were backing them up and doing a good job of not escalating things, Roland said. Roland, who is 70, said he was inspired by the defiance. I thought it was kind of significant that they chose to break the rules and take over the road, he said. People were pretty passionate about this kingly leader. It was very heartwarming to see these gals step out. But it probably was a little too audacious, and they probably deserved some tickets. Steve Pokin writes the Pokin Around and the Answer Man columns for the Springfield Daily Citizen. He also writes about criminal justice issues. He can be reached at spokin@sgfcitizen.org. His office line is 417-837-3661.
Springfield Business Journal. Spring 2026 construction in the Ozarks, posted online April 17th, 2026 at 2:02 p.m. Reporter's Notebook. Gargantuan numbers like the ones reflected in this spring project report are hard to visualize. Comparisons help, like the fact that the total area of building renovations and additions in this edition of our construction in the Ozarks series adds up to 1,073,754 square feet, equivalent to replicating my own house 588 times. In fact, the project submitted here, pictured above, is the Pedigree Truck and Trailer Sales, and it's right now you just see the two-story frame of the building with the dirt surrounding all around it and a very large crane bringing things up onto the second level, and you have the highway up at the top right-hand corner of the picture. Picture is provided by Killian Construction Company. It would pack 18. In fact, the project submitted here, which merely scratched the surface of work happening around us, so I will list out the projects afterwards, would pack 18 and a half football fields. That visualization doesn't even count another 7 miles of roadway and 104.2 acres of ground development. It seems like a lot of new construction is popping up out there, and that's because it is. We hope you enjoy this glimpse inside. Karen Krager, reporters. So there is continued information. Some of the new projects coming are the Pedigree Truck and Trailer Sales. Elliott Robinson and Company is doing an expansion. Judith Einhart Reynolds Performing Arts Complex. Clifton M. Smart III University Advancement Center. Merica Family Dental. Southway Storage. The Meadows at Wicklow, Nixa City Hall renovation, River Point Dental, Forward 44 project, Sparta Station Christian County Ambulance District, the UPS Delivery Hub, Sunshine Town Center, CNH Remen Edition, Springfield Branson National Airport renovations, Route MM in Republic, Assemblies of God National Office, Ann Campeter Health Sciences Hall is in Phase 2, Tiny Finn's Survival Swim, Endprint Graphics, Noble Hill Sanitary Landfill, Sankofa, St. Agnes Cathedral Parish Center, Ava Early Childhood Facility and Middle School Entryway, Children's Mercy with Mercy O'Reilly Pediatric Center, J.R. Martin Park Improvements, Chip and Teresa McGeehan, Victory Mission and Ministry Headquarters.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Letter, when copay assistance doesn't count, sick Missourians pay the price. Missouri Senator Travis Fitzwater, Republican Holtz Summit, is sponsoring Senate Bill 970. There's a picture of an ambulance sitting outside the emergency room department at Cox North during a mid-September evening. by Jamie Thomas, Springfield. For many Missourians living with chronic or rare illnesses, the biggest barrier to care isn't a lack of treatment, but the cost of accessing it. The Missouri legislature has the chance to act now to pass Senate Bill 970 and protect patients from harmful insurance practices known as copay accumulator programs. These programs exploit a simple idea. When patients receive financial assistance to help cover the cost of expensive medications, that assistance should count toward their deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. Under copay accumulator policies, it doesn't. Instead, insurers accept the assistance, which is often thousands of dollars paid on a patient's behalf. As it stands, insurers can refuse to credit it toward what the patient owes. As a result, patients are suddenly responsible for the full cost of their deductible, often leading to unexpected bills in the thousands. Insurance companies are essentially double dipping. This practice doesn't just strain budgets, it puts lives and livelihoods at risk. Patients facing serious conditions like cancer, multiple sclerosis, or other chronic conditions depend on consistent access to medication. When costs spike unexpectedly, many are forced to delay or abandon treatment altogether. More often than not, there is not a generic option available. I know how critical that access can be. In my early 30s, I was diagnosed with a rare and severe form of multiple sclerosis. My condition required aggressive treatment, and even with insurance, my out-of-pocket costs were staggering at around $8,000 per treatment. MS treatment is extraordinarily expensive, with disease-modifying therapies often costing between $57,000 and more than $100,000 per year. Total direct medical costs can exceed $65,000 annually, making it one of the most expensive chronic conditions to manage. Like many patients, I was offered copay assistance from a drug manufacturer to offset the mounting cost of the care I needed. That assistance made treatment possible and ultimately helped me recover. If that support had not counted toward my out-of-pocket responsibility, I could have faced even greater financial strain at a time when my only focus should have been survival. SB 970 offers a clear and fair solution. It would require that any payments made on behalf of a patient, including copay assistance, be applied toward their deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. In simple terms, it ensures that financial help actually helps patients, not insurance company bottom lines. This is not a partisan issue. It's a matter of basic fairness and patient protection. No Missourian should be penalized for accepting assistance that makes life-saving treatment accessible. Today I'm healthy, raising my children, and contributing to my community. Access to treatment made that possible. Too many patients are still one policy loophole away from losing that same chance. Missouri lawmakers have the opportunity to close that loophole. By passing SB 970, they can ensure that patients get the full benefit of the assistance available to them and that no one is forced to choose between their health and financial stability.
This article is from AP News. Here's a look at birthright citizenship and how the world sees it as the Supreme Court case looms. The Supreme Court is once again hearing arguments on whether President Donald Trump can deny citizenship to children born to parents who are in the United States illegally or temporarily. Pictured is the Supreme Court in the United States Supreme Court. There are 8 columns in front, double-sided with a large ceiling and building on either sides. The Wednesday case stems from an executive order Trump signed on the first day of his second term. This was March 31st. The Wednesday case stems from an executive order Trump signed on the first day of his second term, ending what's known as birthright citizenship, which guarantees citizenship to nearly everyone born on U.S. soil. While the concept has been part of U.S. law for well over a century, it is relatively rare around the world. What is birthright citizenship? Birthright citizenship is based on the legal principle of jus soli, or right of soil. In the U.S., the right was enshrined in the Constitution after the Civil War, in part to ensure that former slaves would be citizens. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, the 14th Amendment states. In the late 1800s, birthright citizenship was legally expanded to the children of immigrants. Wong Kim Ark, who was born in the U.S. to Chinese parents, sued after traveling overseas and being denied re-entry into the U.S. The Supreme Court eventually ruled that the amendment gives citizenship to everyone born in the U.S., no matter their parents' legal status. Today, there are only a handful of birthright exceptions, such as for children born in the U.S. to foreign diplomats. How is birthright citizenship seen around the world? Birthright citizenship rights vary across the globe. Pictured is a world map. Unconditional at birth is pretty much North and South America. Citizenship with conditions is in the middle, and that is a lot of Africa, Europe, and Australia. No birthright citizenship is much of Northern and Western Africa, as well as Western Europe and Asia. Only about 36 countries, nearly all of them in the Americas, guarantee citizenship to children born on their territory. Most countries follow the principle of jus sanguinis, or right of blood, with a child's citizenship based on the citizenship of their parents, no matter where they are born. None of the 27 member states of the European Union, for example, grant automatic, unconditional citizenship to children born to their territories to foreign citizens. The situation is similar across much of Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Some countries take a mixed approach. Some countries use a combination of principles such as parenthood, residency, and ethnicity to decide a child's citizenship. Australia, for example, allowed birthright citizenship until 1986, but starting that August, children born there could only become citizens if at least one parent was an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. Things shifted the other way in Germany, which changed its citizenship laws in 2024. Until then, citizenship by birth required that at least one parent was German. Starting in 2024, though, children born in Germany to non-German parents are automatically granted German citizenship if one parent has been legally living in the country for more than 5 years with unlimited residency status. Citizenship laws were liberalized because studies have shown that the education prospects of children and teenagers with a migration background are better the sooner they were granted German citizenship, the government wrote at the time. What is the Trump administration's argument? Supporters of birthright restrictions in the U.S. focus on a handful of words in the constitutional amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That phrase, they argue, means the U.S. can deny citizenship to children born to women who are in the country illegally. A series of judges have ruled against the administration, and the order has been repeatedly put on hold by lower courts. Wednesday's case originated in New Hampshire, where a U.S. district judge ruled the order likely violates both the Constitution and federal law. This is by AP reporter Kristen Grieshaber, who contributed to this story from Berlin.
This is from the Springfield News-Leader. Trump says U.S. is ready to go militarily if Iran talks fail. Live updates by Christopher Kahn, Zach Anderson, Francesca Chambers, and Michael Loria from USA Today. President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he does not want to extend the U.S.-Iran ceasefire as the clock winds down on the temporary truce and the prospect of more peace talks appeared uncertain. I don't want to do that. We don't have that much time, Trump told CNBC in an interview, adding that he believes the U.S. is in a strong negotiating position and could end up with a great deal. If negotiations fail, the president said, we're ready to go militarily. Vice President J.D. Vance was expected to head to Pakistan on Tuesday for another round of peace negotiations, although it remains unclear whether the Iranians will participate. The White House has not confirmed Vance's departure for the region. Meanwhile, Iranian officials suggested they are fed up trying to negotiate with the Trump administration. Trump, by imposing a siege and violating the ceasefire, seeks to turn this negotiating table, in his own imagination, into a table of surrender or to justify renewed warmongering. Mohammad B. Ghalibaf, Iran's Speaker of Parliament, said in a statement Monday evening, in an apparent reference to the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports that saw U.S. forces seize an Iranian cargo ship. Iran still has not confirmed participation in peace talks, Pakistani officials says. Pakistan's Federal Minister of Information, Atullah Tarar, said on Tuesday that mediators are still waiting an answer from the Iranians on whether they will participate in peace negotiations with the U.S. before the ceasefire expires. He said on X that a decision from Iran is critical to Pakistan's efforts to bring about a diplomatic end to the war. Tarar added that efforts to bring the Iranians to to the negotiating table were ongoing. Pakistan has played a critical role in mediating talks between the U.S. and Iran, hosting an initial round of negotiations earlier this month and making strides to facilitate more talks ahead of the ceasefire scheduled expiration on Wednesday. Trump says UAE currency swap is under consideration. President Trump said on Tuesday that the U.S. was considering a currency swap with the United Arab Emirates, calling the Middle East country a reliable ally. If I could help them, I would, Trump said on CNBC. I mean, we're helping them much more with what we're doing with the war. They're really led by incredible people, he said, adding, if the UAE had a problem, I find it hard to believe, but if they had a problem, we would be there for them. Trump calls Dems calling for end to Iran war treasonous. The president again slammed congressional Democrats for their significant opposition to the war, naming leaders Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries during his CNBC interview. We can't let traitors like Schumer put pressure on you, where they say we want out. Think how bad that is, Trump said. I'm negotiating with these people, and they're telling us we have to get out now. Democrats have launched multiple war power resolution efforts to try to end the war with Iran, although all have failed to gain enough Republican support. I want to make a good deal. I'm not going to be rushed. I have all the time in the world, Trump said. We've done a great job, and I don't want to be rushed by people that are really treasonous, as far as I'm concerned, Trump added, before calling Jeffries a low IQ individual. Trump warned his team Iran war would hurt stock market, drive up oil prices. The president said he told his economic team before the U.S. struck Iran that he was going to put a little wrinkle in their numbers with military action. And they said, wow, that's going to be bad. I said, yeah, it's going to hurt the market, and it's going to drive up the price of oil, Trump recalled. But that's peanuts compared to what would happen if we let this happen. Trump said in a television interview that the stock market would have taken a bigger hit if Iran had obtained a nuclear weapon. As he has insisted throughout the conflict, it was close to producing. You want to see a bad stock market? Try blowing up the Middle East and then Europe, and then they come for us, Trump said on CNBC.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Come by and see us in person with daily deals at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. Veterans receive a 25% discount every day, providing significant savings as a token of appreciation for their service. Additionally, the store features a weekly clothing sale where all clothing items are available at 50% off every Wednesday, and seniors aged 55 and older benefit from a 25% discount every Tuesday, making shopping more affordable for the senior community. From 417 Magazine, we tried a bookbinding class at Wild Arts Learning Center. Come with us to Wild Arts Learning Center for an in-depth bookbinding class by Jordan Blomquist. This is April 2026. Pictured is the owner of Wild Arts Book Burning. I believe her name is Sadie. She is wearing a blue tank top and green pants, and her hair is tied back into a French braid style with long earrings and glasses. And then pictured are two people sitting at the table. It's two students working on binding their books and paper, and with a mat in front of them, a green mat with measurements and their books that they're working on. There's a pair of scissors on the table with a purple handle, and two mugs of tea, cozy tea, while they are sitting at a wooden table. And behind them is a couch, and there's pictures on the wall that are bouquets of flowers and other nature pictures, and a bookcase full of nature supplies like wooden stick styled wreaths, some plants, and a bunch of sticks bound in the corner. Adding to the list of things I never thought I'd do for work, a bookbinding class. This one actually hit closer to home, though. Growing up, I was obsessed with journaling, hence the journalist career path. I have memories of making journals out of scrap paper at my grandma's house and begging for a new notebook anytime my mom took me to the store. On a recent Saturday, I headed to East Springfield for a class at Wild Arts Learning Center, 625 East Farm Road, 152 Springfield. They have all kinds of classes throughout the week, like paper making, canning, drawing and watercolor, loom weaving, soap and candle making, the list goes on. Wild Arts Learning has around 26 artists who visit to teach classes. Some are for adults, but they have children's classes as well. I love being in the community and building and sharing with community, says co-founder and director Sina Canada. The Wild Art Studio gives me and those who teach and gather here opportunities for that by learning and sharing together. It's really the sharing that inspires me most about learning new things. The Wild Arts Learning Center is a perfectly messy yet organized creative space. Dried flowers hang on the walls, looms stand on display, supply boxes line the shelves, and a coffee station sits near an open kitchen. At 10 a.m., I dove into the in-depth 5-hour-long bookbinding class. We started with introductions. 6 others were taking this class with me. Then Canada led us through a brief history lesson in bookbinding. When it was time to begin on the books, I surveyed my supplies: 5 stacks of 5 sheets of paper, 2 square book boards, a box cutter, a pencil and eraser, a metal ruler and glue, laid on a green craft mat. I started by measuring our book boards, which would be the covers. If you were making this at home, you could use something as simple as an empty cereal box or cracker box. Then arguably the hardest part was sifting through hundreds of pieces of scrapbook paper to find the best ones to use for the cover, back cover, and inside panel. Something Canada emphasizes in this class specifically, along with many others, is that this is lesson-based, not simply make and take. She wants participants to be able to take their book home and then make more if they want, for gifts or personal use. Natural material crafts and hand skills are meaningful pursuits, Canada says. After choosing the perfect papers, I got to work, eventually learning to sew the binding using a curved needle. I am proud of the final product. I was intimidated before beginning, all that stitching and precise measuring making my perfectionist brain nervous. Canada guided me through each step, and we have enjoyed a snack and hot tea break. Now the book sits on my desk beside some of my favorite journals. Not completely perfect, but entirely mine. If you're curious about classes at Wild Arts Learning Center, check out all their options at wildartslearning.com. And I will say they're really great. We use them for many things.
This is from the Springfield News-Leader. Wonder why World War I is the Great War? This Missouri Museum has answers. By Susan Schutz, Springfield News-Leader. The National World War I Museum and Memorial in Missouri aims to help today's citizens remember and understand the Great War and how it impacted the global community, according to its mission statement. The memorial predates the museum and was dedicated in 1926 by President Calvin Coolidge. It was closed in 1994 due to the physical structure deteriorating, and Kansas City residents passed a limited-run sales tax to support the building's restoration in 1998. The museum was designated as the nation's official World War I museum by Congress in 2004 and opened in 2006. The museum and memorial, located at 2 Memorial Drive in Kansas City, Missouri, host more than 1 million visitors annually, according to the website Why It Matters. At the end of World War I, what was then thought to be the war to end all wars, leaders in Kansas City decided to create a lasting monument to those who had served. With the assistance of the public, more than $2.5 million was raised in 10 days, which is the equivalent of more than $49 million today. The memorial and museum are a testament to the public's passion for remembering the war that changed their lives and the world. There's a picture of a very tall monument. It says the Liberty Memorial Tower at the National World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City, Missouri, rises 268 feet above the north lawn. Visitors can take the elevator and stairs to the open-air observation deck at the top of the tower. Photo by Samantha Foster, Springfield News-Leader. What to see today? After walking over a field of 9,000 red silk poppies, each representing 1,000 combatant fatalities, museum guests can step inside recreations of trenches, peek into a church repurposed as a field hospital, and watch an immersive film depicting the realities of the war in the recreation of a battle crater. At the Liberty Memorial Tower, guests take an Guests take an elevator and stairs up to an open-air observation deck to look out over the Kansas City skyline. At night, the tower is lit up by a flame created by steam and lighting effects. Ask a local. After finishing up at the museum, grab a bite and admire the historic architecture at the Austrian-German restaurant Grünhauer or Fiorella's Jack Stack Barbecue, both of which are located in the Freight House, 101 West 2nd Street. Or check out the many attractions in the area, including the Museum of Barbecue at 2450 Grand Boulevard, the Rabbit Hole Children's Literature Museum at 919 East 14th Avenue, or the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum at 1616 East 18th Street. Plan your visit. The best time. The museum and memorial are open 7 days a week during the summer. Hours and admission, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wednesday through Monday from Labor Day until Memorial Day, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, Memorial Day through Labor Day. The museum is closed to Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Eve Day. General admission is free for members, $19.50 for adults, $15.50 for seniors 65 and older, $15.50 for military veterans and active duty members, $11.50 for children ages 6 to 15, and free for children younger than 6. There are additional costs for admission to the featured exhibit and the Liberty Memorial Tower. Getting there. Free parking is available on site, and the museum is accessible by Ride KC, the public transportation system, via bus or streetcar. Learn more at the worldwar.org.
Springfield Daily Citizen. Crystal Quaid faces challenges as new head of Downtown Springfield Association. The former gubernatorial candidate entered the Downtown Springfield Association at a precarious time in the organization's history and is spearheading efforts intended to revitalize the nonprofit. This is by Ryan Collins, April 20th, 2026. Crystal Quaid is pictured with her arms crossed, looking thoughtfully out a window. She's got brick and concrete behind her. She's in a corner. She's wearing a green top, a bright green top with a stylish black jacket rolled up at the sleeves. She has medium length, long blonde hair, not blonde, brown hair. That is straight. She is wearing a simple earring that kind of dangles down, and then is a hoop with light makeup. In depth. In Downtown Springfield Association, DSA is in the midst of a transition. Spearheading the nonprofit's transformation is Crystal Quaid, a former Missouri state representative who's going through a bit of transition herself. Quaid, who started as DSA executive director in February, has exited the political landscape after an unsuccessful run for Missouri governor in 2024 as the Democratic nominee. Taking the role at the nonprofit marks a major shift in her career and her life. I've taken a step back from politics, chose not to continue running for office, and really wanted to find something that I can invest myself in, that I not only believed in, but cared about, and would keep me close to home, quite honestly. Quaid told the Daily Citizen from her new office space in downtown Springfield. Quaid said she chose to invest in the DSA. Even with her abundance of experience as a politician, her 8-year run in the legislature included serving as minority leader for a handful of years. She admits she has her hands full with the downtown nonprofit, but the skills she garnered in her previous career, like fundraising, navigating governmental systems, and advancing cohesive agendas, said she will transfer into her new role. The DSA operated without a full-time director for more than 6 months, and Quaid said the organization is facing financial and perception challenges. Further complicating matters, Quaid is now the only employee on staff. Tumultuous times at the Downtown Springfield Association. Crystal Quaid talks about her new job as executive director of the nonprofit Downtown Springfield Association, photographed on South Avenue in Springfield, Missouri on Wednesday, March 18th. She is sitting next to one of the downtown sculptures, and the town is behind her. From July 25 until Quaid started in February, the organization operated without a director, though board members stepped up to fill operational roles as they could. In that time span, 2 of 4 employees left the DSA, leaving a skeleton crew to run the nonprofit. And the train didn't stop there. In April, following the Daily Citizen's interview with Quaid, the last staff member left the nonprofit, leaving Quaid the sole employee. Quaid is clear that the DSA has a myriad of problems at different levels, and there are a number of changes that need to be implemented. Quaid was selected by the board of directors to lead the organization through this tumultuous time. Our membership has fallen over the past little while, and the finances are not where we want them to be, Quaid said. Brian Mattson, DSA board president and lead pastor at the downtown church, said only a special person could fill the role of DSA executive director and lead the organization through this critical time. After a lengthy interview process, Quaid was chosen from more than 40 applicants. Quaid checked all the right boxes, Mattson said. She's lived and worked downtown. She's represented downtown at the State House. She obviously has a name that people recognize, which goes a long way, Mattson said. But I think more than anything, she has shown such a high competency about how to work, to build consensus, to work across lines and boundaries, and get everybody on a page moving forward rather than continuing infighting. Mattson understands the new executive director has been given no small task. After Worley left, Mattson was the board member who stepped in to try to handle as much of the day-to-day operations as he could. It was a chaotic time, he said. It helped out a lot more than a normal nonprofit board chair in a normal situation, he said. The associate made it through that period with the help of other downtown nonprofits and its members' support, Mattson said. Hiring Quaid was very welcomed by him, he said with a laugh. Worley said he also made himself available during the transition, even extending his time at the association. Worley said he is still in communication with some board members, including Mattson. If there were board members or others who would like to have seen things done differently, I wish some of that would have been brought up earlier, and I tried to be open to feedback and thoughts, Worley said. But it was obvious it was time for a change, and so I worked with the board and coordinated the transition. Worley was hired by Toth & Associates last year as the company's first director of community engagement. Worley said he believes Quaid will be a great fit in the director role. Crystal is a great selection, Worley said. She is somebody who has extensive connections and relationships in Springfield and the region, so I think she'll do a great job in this new role. The new role begins a new chapter of service for Quaid, and she has chosen to continue investing in the part of Springfield that holds her heart. Downtown is not only something I deeply care about and love. I represented the downtown in the legislature for 8 years. I have lived and worked down here my whole adult life and went to college at Missouri State. I've just been in this area and deeply care about it. An all-encompassing strategic view. Pictured is a more close-up picture of Crystal, and she is being interviewed at the offices of the Downtown Springfield Association. She has a big smile on her face, and same as before, she's just sitting in her bright green top and black jacket. The transition at DSA has manifested physically. The nonprofit just moved offices, downsizing a bit. Stacks of paper and unpacked boxes were scattered across the office space located off the square in downtown Springfield. Sitting in the small office space, Quaid said our first goal as director will be to conduct a strategic review that will be all-encompassing. The DSA board tasked Quaid with the strategic review when she was hired, but the director is eager to begin what she calls a much-needed process. While funding is a major issue at the nonprofit, the strategic review will give actionable steps to take to address issues at every level. The strategic review will also provide a runway for Quaid to get more staff at the downtown nonprofit. She expects to hire more employees this year and define what those roles will encompass. The biggest challenge facing the nonprofit in Quaid's eyes, the Downtown Springfield Association, has lost its identity. Downtown has become such a big place with many entities controlling different aspects. The Downtown Springfield Association has become lost among the other entities, Quaid said, like the City of Springfield, the Downtown Community Improvement District, the Downtown Council of Champions, and more. The DSA needs to clearly define its identity and make that known to the Springfield community, Quaid said. You know, I've known it existed, but I couldn't have told you a year ago what the DSA truly did, Quaid said. So I think it is really important that we get a clear identity, and not just for our members, but so folks know who to turn to when there is an issue downtown. Mattson agreed the DSA is lacking a cohesive identity. That was one of the main drivers for hiring Quaid. The situation was dire from an identity standpoint, Mattson said. What we do, what we provide, what we offer was maybe not dire, but at least very confused. I think we had wandered from our original purpose. We had become an event-heavy organization, which was not really our role in the decades previous. Events take a lot of time and energy and focus, and I think that caused us to wander from what our core identity was over the years. The DSA puts on a number of downtown events every year, like parades and festivals such as Cider Days. Events generate a significant portion of the association's annual revenue. The former executive director, Worley, said events provided a platform to show off the quality assets of downtown. We wanted to bring people downtown to see new businesses and see the changes that happen, Worley said. We were always inviting them in to reinforce that there are many positive aspects of downtown, kind of refuting some of the urban legends that there's no parking downtown or downtown's unsafe. Our events were designed to try to encourage people to come down and see for themselves. However, even with the successful events, Worley said the association's dependence on events for generating revenue was something discussed within the organization regularly. There's no doubt that the DSA had a higher percentage of its revenue driven by events than the average downtown organization, and that's something we talked about regularly, Worley said. Hiring Quaid as executive director and undergoing an all-encompassing strategic review is the first step to putting the DSA back on the rails and defining its core identity, Mattson said. So now we're kind of doing that hard work to kind of figure out what is our lane, and how do we stay in it, and how are we successful in that, Mattson said. According to its website, the Downtown Springfield Association's mission is to cultivate and sustain a vibrant business community represented by a balance of retail, professional, service, dining, and entertainment entrepreneurs. DSA aims to serve its members. How to do that is best changing. Pictured is a close-up of Quaid's hands with her wedding band on her right hand and ring finger, and then she is holding her phone. Looks like she's working. Crystal Quaid looks for information about the Downtown Springfield Association in order to answer a question during an interview with the Springfield Daily Citizen. The DSA is a member-driven entity. Downtown businesses pay membership fees to those members who are the nonprofit's main customers. Quaid said the best way to serve those businesses is kind of a moving target. The strategic review will help define those actions. We are a membership organization at our core, and our job is to serve our members, Quaid said. And so looking at those different ways, whether that's through advocacy with the city, whether that's through economic development and vitality investments, and trying to find ways to bring businesses down here, to just having events that draw folks in. The review will take about 2 months, and initial results should be released to the Board of Directors in June, Quaid said. Other downtown stakeholders will participate in the discussions. The executive director wants to be there to be clear, actionable tasks at the end of the review that she began to set in motion. That is going to take a lot of time, Quaid said. We have to figure out where we are, but by the time summer hits, we will have completed our strategic planning phase. We'll have serious goals. I'll have a good handle on where our finances are and where we want to be. The review will set up the organization for success in the future. We all know our role is to make downtown vibrant and a place that folks want to come to, but it goes so much further than that, Quaid said. The review will be really digging in to determine what not just the next year, but the next 3 years, the next 5 years, and put some serious goals in place for what downtown looks like. Membership has dropped in the past few years, and currently the organization has about 180 members, Quaid said. That figure was told to Quaid, who will use the review for an accurate count of members and to develop a system to accurately track membership, the director said. In 2018, the DSA had approximately just under 200 members, Mattson said. That represents around a 10% drop in membership in the last 8 years, but there was some variance year to year. As membership fees are a large part of the DSA's revenue, the drop is hurt. Quaid expects membership to pick up after the review and some clear deliverables are defined. The executive director said the organization is exploring other avenues as well to make up for that lost revenue. Part of my charge is to not just increase membership, but find alternative streams of revenue, Quaid said. When you look at different options there, you know there's grants, there's Main Street programs, there's all these things happening across the county, and part of my job is going to be to figure out what direction we want to go. The last financial records filed for the organization were for the 2023 fiscal year. The DSA is a 501c6 nonprofit and accordingly must file a Form 990 with the Internal Revenue Service each year. Falling a bit behind during its lapse in leadership, the organization in the process of filing its 2024 Form 990 uses the financial firm KPM for its filing. In 2023, membership dues accounted for just over $67,000, while program service events generated more than $270,000. After more than $500,000 in revenue that year that boosted the balance sheet, the DSA ended the fiscal year with a small net positive balance. Worley was paid just over $93,000 in 2023, with $189,000 going to other salaries and wages according to the tax form. Quaid declined to disclose her starting salary as executive director in 2026. Her compensation will become publicly available when the 2026 Form 990 is filed. Mattson also declined to disclose the figure, but said Quaid's compensation was competitive with her counterparts in similar organizations around the region. Quaid said part of her charge will be to find additional revenue to hire the staff that the DSA needs. With Quaid as the sole employee of the association, that need is dire. But besides day-to-day operations, the DSA needs additional personnel to handle marketing and other tasks. There's lots of ways that we can streamline our processes, but at the end of the day, I do think that we're going to need more staff to demand the needs of our members and what they deserve. Communication and accurate representation is the main need for DSA members. Pictured is Richard Vance, who is a co-owner of Billiards of Springfield, located at 541 East St. Louis Street in downtown Springfield. As he had said, he has been an active member of DSA since he bought the business 4 years ago. And he is in a Billiards logoed black polo shirt and wearing a trucker-style ball cap that is gray and black with khakis, a belt, and it looks like a styled digital watch. With his business behind him, has several pool tables, and he is standing at one of the meal tables. Richard Vance co-owns Billiards of Springfield, and he has been a member of DSA since he took over the downtown bar and restaurant 4 years ago. Vance is a self-proclaimed active member. He said he attends all the meetings and isn't afraid to speak up and reach out when he needs something. The business owner has witnessed firsthand the tumultuous times at DSA. Just 2 months into the job, Vance said Quaid was definitely received a few texts and calls from him. Quaid is willing to sit down and listen to the needs of the downtown business owners, Vance said. He thinks she has done a great job of establishing herself in the role. With her political background and her ability to run administrations and people, Vance said, I think she's going to bring something to the table. She's listening. Quaid said since her first day on the job, she has realized communication with DSA members will be critical in her role. Most business owners just wanted representation and to be heard. Now that we have someone in this role, it's really about listening to all the different stakeholders, meeting with residents, the business owners, the nonprofit folks, and bridging a lot of gaps between downtown and the city, Quaid said. Vance said he is trying to give Quaid some time to figure out the association and the best way forward. She has earned that trust with him, and he implored other downtown business owners to do the same. I say give her a chance, Vance said. Whether you like her from the past or you don't like her from the past, whether you like DSA from the past, you didn't like DSA in the past, give her a chance to get her feet wet. Busy start in the director's chair. Tasha Robinson leads the Field Steppers dance group as they bring up at the end of the 2026 St. Patrick's Day Parade. So pictured are 3 members with green T-shirts with a gold cowboy boot and a hat saying the Field Steppers. And they're all wearing a variation of camel-style shorts or pants. The first 2 months of Quaid's DSA journey has been filled with all kinds of meetings and administrative tasks. She's learning the ropes and getting a lid on the operation of a nonprofit that has been without a director for the better part of a year. The first month was a whirlwind, Quaid said. She joined during the ramp-up to a public vote on the hotel tax increase to fund the convention center, and representing downtown members meant many meetings. Springfield residents ultimately voted no on the tax increase, squashing the likelihood of a downtown convention center being built. Even with Springfield voting against the convention center, Quaid believes the city as a whole is at a tipping point, and downtown should reflect that. We really are, I believe, at a point of tremendous opportunity as a city, Quaid said. We have city leadership that is excited and are willing to take risks. We are the 3rd largest city in the state, and we need to act that way. And by that, I mean, we need to be competitive with trying to draw folks here. The first month already threw some curveballs Quaid's way. In February, a man was shot and killed in the heart of downtown on South Avenue, sparking debate on the safety of Springfield's oldest corridor. Quaid said the Springfield Police Department has put great resources into covering downtown in recent years, including resource officers. I've heard from business owners that they've seen a huge positive impact from that, Quaid said. Quaid said there is nothing the DSA can do to prevent all crime, but the more people downtown can draw in and the more businesses flourish, the less focus on crime there will be. The more foot traffic and the more positive traffic and the more positive things we have downtown, the less we're going to see those negative things that happen, Quaid said. The economy of downtown hasn't fully recovered from the stomach punch that was the pandemic, Quaid said. Empty storefronts and some dilapidated buildings are not helping the image of downtown. A lot of our brick-and-mortar stores did not survive COVID, Quaid said, and that's just an unfortunate reality of downtowns in general across the country. The social aspect of downtown has changed in the last decade, Worley said, and that has changed Springfield's downtown drastically. People are connecting more digitally, and streaming services have changed entertainment. Recreational marijuana is now competing for discretionary income, and in the last 5 years, there has been an influx of residents living downtown, and many are of the student age group. There's a period of change for nightlife, and that's one of the driving forces for downtown, Worley said. I think that's part of the change, not just for Springfield, but downtowns all over the country coming out of the pandemic. Also, at the end of February, a beloved town mural was painted over, and Quaid quickly joined the ranks to figure out a way to recreate the artwork on a different downtown building. The executive director has also invested time into exploring ways of ensuring property owners always have a way of protecting similar artworks and to create a public fund for such products, Quaid said. We now have a process in place, Quaid said. I don't want to say I took lead on that convening, but there was a group of us that convened and put together best practices so that this doesn't happen again. And in the middle of all that, she led the organization through its first major event, the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and she was the Grand Marshal. The parade and related events brought more than 3,000 people downtown. The first 2 months in the job have proven that Quaid has her hands full. It's been full of twists and turns, and getting a lid on operations has been anything but simple. But she's full steam ahead in the endeavor of getting the Downtown Springfield Association in a place it can succeed. The new executive director will have a plan in place coming out of the strategic review around June. I'm really excited for what lies ahead as we go through the strategic planning process and really decide what our lane is going to be as a service organization, Quaid said. I think that we're going to see some awesome partnerships come out of this, whether that's through the city, whether that's through other nonprofits in the area where we can really elevate what we're doing here. And for me, that's really exciting. This article is by Ryan Collins. He's the business and economic development reporter for the Springfield Daily Citizen. You can reach him at 417-849-2570 or rcollins, Collins, at sgfcitizen.org.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. After 5 years of baking cakes in the Brentwood Shopping Center, Charity Fent isn't slowing down. The business owner admits she has some control issues. She personally decorates each cake and works about 100 hours a week. By Juliana Goodwin. There's a picture of Charity Fent in a gray t-shirt and a white ball cap holding a white cake with rainbow-colored sprinkles on it. Fent sells cash and carry cakes that you can walk in and purchase last minute for birthdays or events. Photo by Juliana Goodwin. Charity Fent is one of Springfield's premier bakers. She specializes in fondant, is obsessed with details, and has appeared on the Food Network. But her career started without any training. Zero baking skills at all, she said. About 15 years ago, her son was turning 14 and wanted an Army tank cake for his birthday. Fent was quoted $600 by a local bakery. Back then, she was an avid Ace of Cakes watcher on the Food Network. As an artistic person, Fent decided she could do it herself. That is what started it. It blew up from there. I started doing it for friends and family. It is a ton of work, but I fell in love with it, she said. At the time, she was enrolled in Ozarks Technical Community College's dental hygienist program, but dropped out of college and decided to pursue baking and cake decorating full-time. But to be clear, it's the decorating she loves. Fent hates banking. In 2015, she launched Charity Fent Cake Design out of her home. There's a picture of different colored, looks like cakes, plates, in front of a kind of an emblem that says Charity Fent, established 2015 cakes design. The custom bakery also has cupcakes, gooey butter bars, a best-selling item, cookies, cake pops, and more in the bakery case. Photo by Juliana Goodwin. A few years in, the Food Network contacted her and asked her to appear on Cake Wars, and she did. Fent has no idea how they found her. Eventually, she realized she had to open a brick and mortar because they had gutted their home and there wasn't enough space. Fent signed her lease in December 2020 during the pandemic and opened May 5th, 2021 in the Brentwood Shopping Center at 2648 South Glenstone Avenue. That was stupid, she said. She laughs. I couldn't get anything in. It took 4 months for my ovens to arrive. I couldn't get supplies. I opened way too quick. We were walking in blind. But she managed to build her business, a business that keeps her insanely busy. Fent works 6 days a week, 100 hours per week. On an average week, she goes through 600 eggs, but that figure can reach 1,500 during busy wedding season. There's a sign on the building that says Charity Fent Cake Design. But it's not just brides that keep her busy. Her storefront includes trays of cupcakes, cake pops, and her best-selling gooey butter cake and cake cups. The cake cups are literally cups filled with cake that was shaved off in the leavening process before decorating, and clouds of buttercream. She came up with the idea early on when she was throwing away hundreds of pounds of cake and decided this was a way to keep it from going to waste. She also has cash and carry cakes, simple multi-tier cakes that customers can buy if they forget a birthday and staff can personalize. The tallest cake she ever made was 6 tiers, and she's making that bride's sister's wedding cake soon. That is the best part of the business, repeat customers. Fenton is married and has 2 sons, 29 and 15. As the store approaches its 5th anniversary, she reflected on her journey as a baker in the kitchen Q&A with Charity Fent. What made you decide to open a storefront? I think, like anybody else, you don't think you've made it until you have a storefront. Man, was I wrong. You've got overhead. You've got bills you never had before. You've got employees. I knew it was the next thing to do because I had maxed myself out at home and was doing anywhere between 10 to 15 weddings a weekend on top of 10 birthday cakes. It was getting too overwhelming. What is your most popular wedding cake flavor? Churro. It would have been about 7 years ago. Someone got married at Disney and had their churros and loved it. They came back here to have their reception and asked every bakery in town if they could make a churro cake. I was the only one that was willing to try to make it. I did it for them. They loved it. I loved it. It has since been the most popular wedding cake flavor. What is your favorite thing to do? Decorate. I hate baking. I hate the business side of it. I love losing myself at midnight or 2 a.m., losing myself in the fondant decoration when there is no one else around. The details is what I started with and what I still love. What was it like being on the Food Network? It was fun. I'll never do it again. I've been asked to do it again. It was hard. I don't like to fly. There was 0 sleep. It was 4 straight days in Hollywood under bright lights, 50 producers screaming at you. You're not doing stuff fast enough. I can say I did it one time and I'm good. Did you win? No. We would have won, but our sign fell off at the last second. Someone was knocked out before us. There were 3 contestants going for first place. That's a bad memory. If you watch it, you will see we would have won. It's still out there online. There's a picture of cupcakes and the cake cups that are some of her best sellers and a way to sell leftover cake. Photo by Juliana Goodwin. Was there a moment when you felt like you had made it? I thought it was opening the store, but that wasn't it. It wasn't being on the Food Network. Excuse me. It's building repeat clients who trust me with their celebrations. People coming back to me is what I consider having made it. What is your busiest month? May, because of Mother's Day, graduation, and weddings. I will work to 120 hours a week in May. What do you do if a customer is not happy with a cake? It really doesn't happen, only because I'm very specific. They have to give me inspiration photos. They have to tell me exactly what they want. We draw it up. I don't get that because I'm very specific. Do you get tired of eating sweets? No, I have a huge sweet tooth, but I am on a diet right now. I've lost 20 pounds. It's been hard. I would go 10 hours without eating and then eat a gooey butter bar. How long does an average wedding or birthday cake take to make, and what is the starting price? Birthday cakes take longer than wedding cakes. Brides do simplistic white. It's not crazy. The most basic 3-tier wedding cake is 8 hours, and then from there, if they have fondant designs, details, it adds time. I had a wedding cake take 3 days because of the hand-painted details. Birthday cakes easily take 3 days. Everything is hand-cut pieces out of the fondant. 2-tier birthday cake is $250 to $300 and goes up depending on the details. Basic wedding cake is 3-tier $800 and goes up. Do you have someone who decorates with you? I'm the only one who decorates my cakes. I have a girl who does cash and carries. I have a baker. People trust me with their cakes, so I want to honor that and be the one who decorates it. I built my brand and my business on how I do things, and I have yet to find someone who does it just like I do. When someone is paying a lot of money for a cake, it's hard to say, you like the cake I've done, but I'm going to let someone else do it. Oh, well, there's a picture of a blue and white 5-tier wedding cake. Makes me think of china patterns and porcelain. Charity Fent said this was her favorite cake to make. All the fondant was hand-painted. She's known for her detail work. Photo from Charity Fett. What is the farthest you have delivered a cake? Kansas City. Farthest my cakes have gone, New York, Colorado, and Tennessee. They pick it up and have to dry ice. I have a couple coming in from Jonesboro, Arkansas next month. They are flying here to pick up their cake. They have their own plane, so that is a first. I've never had anyone pick up a wedding cake with a plane. You can bet your butt I'll be there to get a picture. What are baking trends you love or hate? A big trend is vintage piping wedding cakes. Table cakes are huge. That's a long sheet cake that's decorated. Now what is catching on is cake cup towers. They can grab a cake off the tower and it has cake and buttercream in a nice flute or glass. That is the newest trend. How much has the cost of baking gone up? My prices have gone up 50% from a year ago. Cocoa is insane. When people want cake pops, people think $3.50 is a lot, but I'm not even making money on them. My prices have not gone up significantly to cover that. Packaging has gone up. Anything from outside the country is more expensive. Hardest part of your job? Employees delivering wedding cakes. It's very stressful. What skill was the hardest to master? Covering a cake in fondant, making sure it is thin enough, sharp enough. I don't know that it was hard, but it took long to master. Lessons learned in business? To let go of things. I don't have to do it all. Learn how to delegate. But you're the only one who decorates your cakes. Laughter. That's right. I have control issues. I am still learning. Find it. Charity Fent Cake Design, 2648 South Glenstone Avenue, or on Facebook. Juliana Goodwin is a freelance journalist with experience covering business, travel, and tourism, health, food, and history. She is a former food and travel columnist for the Springfield News-Leader, a former business reporter for the Joplin Globe, and has written for USA Today and Arkansas Living Magazine, among others.
I've never looked up a website so fast looking for those cake cups. I've always hated on TV shows where the cake and they're just cutting it off and I'm like, but it's so much good cake. Yeah. I love that she's putting it in cups. That sounds delicious. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. I'm excited to go try it. All right, we've got the Associated Press. Criminal sentence for OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma clears the way for completing its settlement. Pictured are several family members with pictures of family members they've lost, posters saying Sackler. Many are crying and teary-eyed. A judge, this is by Jeff Mulvihill, updated at 10:35 a.m. today, April 21st. A judge is expected to sentence OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma to forfeit $225 million to the Justice Department on Tuesday, clearing the way for the company to finalize the settlement of thousands of lawsuits it faces over its role in the opioid crisis. The penalty was agreed to in a 2020 pact to resolve federal civil and criminal probes it was facing. If the judge signs off, other penalties will not be collected in return for Purdue settling the other lawsuits. After years of legal twists and turns, the settlement was approved by another judge last year and could take effect May 1st. It requires members of the Sackler family who own the company to pay up to $7 billion to state, local, and Native American tribal governments, some individual victims, and others. Here's a look at the situation. The sentence was years in the making. Purdue pleaded guilty to 3 federal criminal charges in November 2020. The Stamford, Connecticut-based company admitted that it did not have an effective program to keep its powerful prescription painkillers from being diverted to the black market, even though it told the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration that it did. It also admitted that it paid doctors through a speakers program to prescribe the drugs and paid an electronic medical records company to send doctors information on patients that encouraged more opioid prescriptions. While Purdue produced only a fraction of the opioid pills that flooded the market in the 2000s, advocates have long seen aggressive sales of OxyContin as one of the touchstones of the crisis. At a 1996 event to rally Purdue's sales force, Richard Sackler, then a top Purdue executive and later president of the company, called for a blizzard of prescriptions. While Purdue is expected to pay $225 million, the government agreed in the plea deal not to collect $5.3 billion in criminal forfeitures and fines and $2.8 billion in civil liabilities. Instead, portions of that money are considered part of the broader settlement, and the federal government will receive a small slice of that. Pictured is the Stanford Town Center. It is a stacked building. It kind of looks like an upside-down cake, and it is completely lined with windows. Purdue Farmers headquarters stands in Stamford, Connecticut, and this is pictured on October 21st, 2020. Up to $7 billion from Sackler family members. The broader settlement calls for members of the Sackler family who own the company to contribute up to $7 billion over 15 years. Most of the money is to go to government entities to use to fight the opioid crisis. It's among the largest in a series of settlements by drug makers, wholesalers, and pharmacies in recent years, and the only major one that includes payments for some individual victims or their survivors. Together, the settlements are worth more than $50 billion, and most of the money is to be used to address the overdose epidemic. Pictured is a graph. There's a sort of a half circle, the bottom half of the circle, with an arrow going down into the middle circle, and then another arrow going down where the money goes. So I'll read through that. The opioid settlement plan. A plan to settle thousands of lawsuits over the toll of opioids would have the Sackler family hand over OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma and up to $7 billion in cash. So the top part says where the money comes from. Sackler family estimated worth $11 billion. Purdue assets in the bank, $900 million. Now we go down the arrow to the circle in the middle. How much is in the settlement? From the Sackler family members, $6.5 billion to $7 billion. From Purdue's coffers, $900 million. Value of Purdue as a company is unknown. We follow the arrow down where the money goes, and then we now have a graph chart. State and local governments are going to get $5.42 billion. Individual victims, $751.76 million. Health insurers, $394.91 million. Hospitals, $263.5 million. Federal government, $225 million. Fees for lawyers representing local governments, $210 million. Trust for Native American tribes, $184.95 million. Cash for the company that would replace Purdue, $135 million. Neonatal abstinence syndrome babies, $114.06 million. Public schools, $40.56 million. Emergency room physicians, $5.81 million. Exact amounts would depend on how many creditors participate and other factors. This is source of the AP reports and court documents. Under Purdue deal, members of the Sackler family would be shielded from lawsuits over opioids from those who agreed to the payments. Purdue itself would cease to exist and be replaced by a new company, Knoa Pharma, KNOA, which would operate for the public benefit and have a broad board appointed by the states. The reorganization is considered one of the most complicated ever. By the end of last year, Purdue had paid law firms and other professionals working on all sides of the case more than $1 million, according to a court filing. Pictured is a hand coming down onto a bottle of Purdue Pharma OxyContin. Says from the Sackler family, OxyContin 81718, www.sacklerpain.com. and over 200,000 dead. Family and friends who have lost loved ones to OxyContin and opioid overdoses leave pill bottles in protest outside the headquarters of Purdue Pharma. This was on August 17th, 2018 in Stamford, Connecticut. The sentencing doesn't include the company's owners. Members of the Sackler family have long been cast as villains in the opioid crisis, seeking to increase profits even as it became clear people were becoming addicted to OxyContin and overdosing. But no members of the family were charged. Family members received $10.7 billion in payments from Purdue from 2008 to 2018, with nearly half of it used to pay taxes on behalf of Purdue. They have not been paid by the company since 2018, and the last of them left Purdue's board in 2019. Under the settlement, they would not object if their names are removed from museums and other institutions they've supported, something that's already been happening. A sign with some of the names of the Sackler family is pictured and is displayed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art January 17, 2019 in New York. And it says the Sackler Wing, Arthur M. Sackler, M.D., Mortimer D. Sackler, M.D., and Raymond R. Sackler, M.D. Some victims are pushing for prosecutions. More than 54,000 people with personal injury claims against Purdue voted to accept the settlement, and 218 voted against it. Still, some victims and their family members have been pushing back for years, asserting that the settlement and the guilty plea stop short of justice for victims of a crisis that has been linked to $900,000 deaths in the U.S. since 1999. Tuesday's sentencing is one more chance for them to make that case to a judge. Cheryl War holds photos of her sons, both of whom died from overdoses. Sean Merrill left and Corey Merrill on the right after making a statement during a hearing in New York on March 10th, 2022. Sean is pictured in a gray suit with a light blue shirt and a darker blue tie, medium blue tie. He is well-groomed with blue eyes and a short beard and short hair. Corey on the right is wearing a white t-shirt that says La Familia, and he's wearing a sort of a chain necklace with some sort of thing hanging from it. Can't see, it's blurry in the photo. It's got a black background and his hair is also short. Susan Austerman's son, Tyler Cordero, died at age 24 in 2020 after overdosing on a mixture that included fentanyl after years of using heroin and other opioids. She organized others who lost loved ones to deliver victim impact statements to the court ahead of the sentencing. She said the aim was to persuade the judge to reject the plea deal and for the U.S. Department to pursue criminal charges against individuals, including Sackler family members. It shouldn't be going to states and municipalities, said Austerman, noting that some governments should have not yet used the funds they received, and others have used it in ways not closely linked to fighting the drug crisis. They're not using that money effectively. Associated Press reporter Alana Durkin-Richer contributed to this article. Jeff Mulvihill covers topics on the agendas of state governments across the country. He has focused on abortion, gender issues, and opioid litigation.
Okay, this is from Inside History, the post-World War II boom, how America got into gear. After years of wartime rationing, American consumers were ready to spend money, and factories made the switch from war to peacetime production, by Sarah Pruitt. In the summer of 1945, as World War II drew to a close, the U.S. economy was poised on the edge of an uncertain future. Would it be able to transition from a full-bore war economy to a fulsome and stable peacetime one? Many experts at the time had serious doubts. As it turned out, after a half-decade of rationing and war privation, Americans were more than ready to splurge, and post-war U.S. industries pivoted more nimbly than expected, shifting from producing bomber jets and tanks to cars, TVs, and home appliances. Here's how America made the shift. War mobilization had overtaken the home front. Since President Franklin D. Roosevelt's call in late 1940 for the United States to serve as the arsenal of democracy, American industry had stepped up to meet the challenge. U.S. factories built to mass-produce automobiles had retooled to churn out airplanes, engines, guns, and other supplies at unprecedented rates. At the peak of its war effort in late 1943 and early 1944, the United States was manufacturing almost as many munitions as all of its allies and enemies combined. On the home front, the massive mobilization effort during World War II had put Americans back to work. Unemployment, which had reached 25% during the Great Depression and hovered at 14.6% in 1939, had dropped to 1.2% by 1944, still a record low in the nation's history. Even before the war ended, U.S. business, military, and government officials began debating the question of the country's reconversion from military to civilian production. In 1944, Donald Nelson of the War Production Board proposed a plan that would reconvert idle factories to civilian production. Powerful military and business leaders pushed back, and plans for widespread reconversion were postponed. But with the war wrapping up and millions of men and women in uniform scheduled to return home, the nation's military-focused economy wasn't necessarily prepared to welcome them back. As Arthur Herman wrote in his book Freedom's Forge, How American Business Produced Victory in World War II, U.S. businesses at the time were still geared around producing tanks and planes, not clapboard houses and refrigerators.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more to update news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.